Hello, good day, dear friends, dear colleagues, dear Liz. We welcome all of you from our Moscow office of the Assembly of People of Eurasia. And here together with me are my colleagues, your colleagues from the General Secretariat of the Assembly of People of Eurasia. And we are very thankful for you, dear Elizabeth, for organization of this meeting of International Association, the World Through the Culture. And thank you very much, dear Mark Lukovic, for the preparation of our meeting. Today, we are going to discuss the questions connected to the activities of the Assembly. We'll try to present to our new members, whom we today see maybe first time, and we're especially glad to welcome our new members, new colleagues, and I think new friends. We'll try to show our activity of the Assembly of the People of Eurasia, and if you would have questions, with a great pleasure we will answer them. And of course, for us it is very important to enlarge our cooperation between the Assembly of People of Eurasia, between the active members, and also new partnerships and our new friends. And we would like that you would ask the questions to us: which projects, which ideas, what's new is, so we can implement all together. I think that you will have opportunity to get acquainted to my colleagues, to your colleagues, and now with a great pleasure I turn the floor to our friends from Austria, from Germany, to Mr. Mark Lukovic and Elizabeth Augustas.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this introduction, Mrs. Mirnova, and welcome to our roundtable Eurasia in Dialogue. Our guests are representatives from the Eurasian Peoples Assembly, as well as guests from Austria, Switzerland, and Germany. Representatives of organizations we of Peace Through Culture are in friendly contact with, cooperate, and which are like-minded allies in the field of peace and intercultural cooperation in various fields. We will have the opportunity to listen to the introduction of the Eurasian Peoples Assembly with headquarters in Moscow. We will have 5 guest speakers introducing their organization and respective work. We will also have time for questions and dialogue and proposals. The initiative Peace Through Culture is an international association of idealistically minded people who aim at creating and supporting structures for establishing international, but mostly intercultural understanding amongst peoples with the target of world peace and world harmony. The primacy of ethical values over politics, economy, and further forms of civilization is the precondition for a new, multipolar, yet united world, which is based on principles of cooperation and collaboration for the commonwealth and well-being of all human beings. We aim for the worldwide promotion of dialogue amongst cultures, religions, and ideologies of all kinds, and for the elevation of the consciousness for a life strongly emphasized on culture and ethical behavior. In general, for the priority of spiritual culture in all spheres of life. The International Association PTC Europe was founded in 1992, whereas the International Association was first initiated in Moscow in 1989. Since this time, we hosted and participate in numerous roundtable events and international conferences and congresses in India, Crimea, Riga and Vilnius, St. Petersburg, Moscow, Beslan in Vladikavkaz, Egypt, Grozny in Chechnya, Yekaterinburg, Ukraine, and even the Altai region and other locations. The first major event was initiated with the World Congress towards Spiritual Concord in 1992 in Almaty in Kazakhstan, under the patronage of President Nazarbayev. Also, Mr. Tolegen Muhammad Shanov, our most appreciated partner there, is with us today, which makes us very happy. The main topic of this conference was the harmonization of the 115 ethnic cultural groups in Kazakhstan. And as a result, the People's Assembly of Kazakhstan was founded in 1995 by presidential order. The Assembly has a plenary session every year under the chair of the president and acts as a non-parliamentary political organ. In the following 10 years, influenced and inspired by the extraordinary initial example of Kazakhstan, the system of people's assemblies was instituted in the following countries: in Tatarstan, Yakutia, Russia, and also Kyrgyzstan. In 2016, we participated at the annual Cultural Forum in St. Petersburg with a delegation from Germany, Ukraine, and Austria, where we met friends from Russia who shared with us the great idea of the foundation of the Eurasian People's Assembly, which we supported immediately and wholeheartedly. And among them was Mrs. Svetlana Smirnova, who subsequently became the first deputy of the Secretary General of the Eurasian People's Assembly, which was officially instituted later in May 2017. After these little explanations about the start and the history of the whole initiative, let us now start with the introduction of the Eurasian People's Assembly. So the virtual floor is yours now, Ms. Smirnova.
Thank you very much, dear Liz, and I am really happy to see together with us dear Wilhelm August, and dear Aldi. Willy is the head, is co-president of the Council of the Elders, and together with you, Honorable Willy, our friendship started since we got acquainted in the enlargement of our partnership, of our friendship and cooperation. And I see both of you on my screen, and that's a pleasure for me and for all of us to see you today. Thank you very much. And Liz already told that together we have Muhammadjan of Muhammadjan again, and we all started together this work in the From of Association, and of course it's a great pleasure that today we all are together. Unfortunately, we don't have Eurasian. Eurasian tells greetings to everyone. He couldn't be presented personally, but he told that with a whole heart and so he is with us. And now and just one thing, I saw that our member of the General Council joined from Finland, Mr. Kari Sundberg. He is together with us. This is just information for you, dear colleagues, that we have also Mr. Kari Sundberg from Finland, who is the member of the General Council of the Assembly of People of Eurasia since its foundation of assembly in 2017. And of course, I'm really thankful for the international association that the peace through the world, that our idea, our initiative of establishing the Assembly of People of Eurasia was supported. And you were the members of these outstanding events. That's really important, and that we continue our work right now today. And as far as the assembly activity is concerned, I would like to remark that the Assembly of People of Eurasia, this is international union of non-governmental organizations and citizens with active position of life who share and promote the ideas and the values of Eurasian integration, the protection of the peace, friendship, partnership, and fair neighboring, kind neighboring between the people and countries. And these values are the main questions of international agenda for the sake of salvation of our joint future of humanity. And parallel, I will have presentation, and you can see our activity within our 4 years. You can listen to me, you can watch the presentation, you can follow the slides, which you have on your screen right now, as I hope. So 4 years ago in May, it was the first meeting of the Assembly of People of Eurasia, and more than 2,000 people participated from 67 countries. 67 countries. That was public civil initiative, huge initiative, which was organized by people with all their heart. And on the 27th of May 2017, they were elected the governing body. The general secretary of our assembly is Andrei Belyaninov. The co-presidents were elected. One of the co-presidents is from France, Mr. Bernard Lozé, Dalbir Singh from India, and Igor Halevinsky from Russia. We have 3 co-presidents. The main mission of the assembly we have defined as the creation of awareness of the person of the next generation of 3,000-year threshold, the person who is creating for the sake of development of the world. And this is our main mission. In my opinion, this combined with the mission of the International Association of the Peace through the Culture, and it's not occasionally that we all are together at the present time. In the general board, we have the representatives of 32 countries of Eurasia, and the members are the representatives of non-governmental organizations from 45 countries. So these are countries of Europe and Asia. But we do not separate, and we start with the position that Eurasia is the big continent, Eurasian continent, and between Europe and Asia there are no borders. We have general space, and all our hearts are together. The members of the assembly are united through the general goals and purposes to make the world more stable, sustainable, without the wars, without the violation, and the general responsibility in front of the history for covering the predecessors' work, the responsibility of the future for preserving all the ethnic, cultural identity of all the people, spiritual ideas, and the transfer of this social experience to the next generations. The main task of our activities are the implementation of different projects, the projects and the activities which are dedicated to the strengthening of the integration process, strengthening of the friendship between people, between countries and folks. And I should say that these are the questions of economic cooperation, of cultural, of sport activity, and also the teenager policy. The partnership with different countries of Big Eurasia is done through the tools of public diplomacy in the sphere of cultural humanitarian cooperation. And we all understand that the people diplomacy is playing a very important role, and sometimes what cannot the leaders and the politicians of the countries, maybe they fail to do that, but people, just simple people of different nationalities, they want to talk, they want to have friendship, and we all together through our institutions, through our tools of the people democracy and diplomacy, we strengthen our friendship, and through this work, through this joint cooperation and co-creation, we provide the preparation of the trust on our continent. And though the previous year and this year also, unfortunately, we face limitations because of the pandemic, but nevertheless, The Assembly of People of Eurasia continues its activity, and it is very active. We make a lot of our events right now in online format, as today, for example. And we understand that in front there will be personal meetings, offline meetings, when we can meet and hug each other, not just share through the screen our emotions. And I would say that on the 9th of July this year, just in 2 weeks, we will have important event. This is our meeting with a report of the General Assembly of People of Eurasia, and we will make a report about our activity within the past 4 years of our joint work. And on the 9th of July, General Assembly will elect the new governing bodies. It will be created the High Consultation Board, Revision Commission. They will be also define the perspective plan of strategic activity of our assembly for the next 4 or 5 years. Why 4 or 5? According to our charter, we have every 4 years, but we are planning to bring the amendments to the assembly. That's why the General Assembly is planning to be held once in 5 years. So, dear colleagues, this is my brief presentation generally of our activity, and now I would like to turn the floor to my colleagues about the international activity of the Assembly of People of Eurasia, about the cooperation with United Nations, UNESCO, and other international organizations, and our heads of international department, Yulia Petrova, the deputy of the General Secretary for the International Cooperation, and Kira Covenant, the head of Department of Work and Cooperation with International Organizations. So please, Kira will represent. Yes, I would like to introduce and present our international cooperation, the Assembly of People of Eurasia. This is the organization which in every its activity supports and uses the international cooperations. And our international activity of the Assembly of People of Eurasia, it's international by its definition, but we are focused on the following directions. This is the work with international organizations. The second is scientific and educational organization process. And the third department or direction is establishment of the close contacts in the diplomacy, in the people diplomacy with the countries of African continent, in establishment of dialogue of Big Eurasia. And I would like to make you acquainted with our success cases and projects in the field of every direction. In the frame of our work for international organizations, we make a lot of events in the field of education, science, and culture, and among them, the most significant became the set of the events which were held under the support of the Commission of the Russian Federation on the UNESCO work, also International Marathon, International Roundtable on the actual questions of preserving the diverse of languages, dedicated to the Day of the Mother Language, native language, the international activity for the dedicated of International Cultural Diversity Day, and also annually of the 13th of September, the Assembly of People of Eurasia has the meetings with the representatives of the biggest international non-commercial non-state organizations, representatives of the diplomatic missions due to the International Peace Day. And this became already the important activity of our assembly. Unfortunately, the pandemic situation of the year 2020 could not let us this activity making offline, so these activities were held online. For us, it's a great pleasure to inform you that this year the Commission of the Russian Federation on UNESCO activities found it's possible to nominate the Assembly of Eurasian People for the UNESCO Award for the Peace, and yet we don't have the results of this award, but we hope to be in the list, at least not of the winners, but to be the short list. And on the 18th of May this year, the Assembly of People of Eurasia, in the frame of the mandate of United Nations, made an independent dialogue, different ways but general goal for the support of the United Nations program for the food safety. And we should remark that this dialogue, it was widely recognized, and representatives of the African continent joined this dialogue. They were also very interested in, through the assembly development of the horizontal connections to the representatives of Eurasian continent in the frame of scientific and educational diplomacy for the enlargement and for solving the tasks. We have the Committee for the International Education and Partnership. In the frames of this committee, we implement the following projects. The first one is, together with the Center of Expert of Education, 4 times in a year, we held the Global Days of Russian Education, in frames of which there are different companies and the universities of Russia are presented for the Eurasian students. Not less than 30 countries participate from Eurasian continent. Recently there were Uganda, Senegal, Egypt, Morocco. So the countries not only from Eurasian continent but from African continent can participate. The activity is very in high demand, and already 40 foreign companies participate in this activity. It's so popular of this activity made us to establish the reference book or the catalog of the scientific questions or topics of education, which future students and their parents can use in order to get the information about the people and the companies who they would join and to get the credit of the trust. Thank you very much. That's enough. We have the time frame. Thank you. There are a lot of projects, of course, and I want to tell you about all of them, but others you can also find in a free access. Thank you very much, Kira. That should be brief information, just 2-3 minutes every speech, because we have really a lot of different directions. And right now, Irina Polyakova, deputy of the head of the Secretariat for Cultural and Humanitarian Cooperation, she will tell us about the cultural projects. Dear friends, dear colleagues, the Department of Cultural Cooperation in the Assembly of People of Eurasia is working also closely to the projects and with the project of the members of the Assembly and our partners. And I would like to ask to upload the presentation and to show several our projects. Cultural and Humanitarian Projects presentation. On our website of the Assembly of People of Eurasia, we have a section of the projects. The projects are active and they were processed in this year and the previous year. In most of them, there are cultural humanitarian projects. The projects are dedicated mainly to the establishment of friendship relations, friendly relations, and the ideas of peace promotion. And I would like to bring you examples of several projects in order for you to participate in them. One of the most significant projects are the Festival of the Song of the Peace. This project started in March this year, and the Song of the Peace, which was written by the members of the Assembly, were participating members of different countries. We have this project on our website. You can watch that, you can listen to, and from this song we have an idea to invite to the festival the authors from different countries with their songs about the peace. And on the 21st September of the year 2021, in the International Peace Day, we invite you to participate in this online festival where will be songs of your colleagues and friends from different Eurasian countries. One more international project is called Angels of the Peace. This is a fine art project. Also, the artists, not even professionals, but the amateurs from different countries, they paint the angels, they paint them in different images, how they like it. And our authors of this project from Krasnoyarsk, they have a task to gather 365 images with the angels, and they believe that if these images of angels will be all over the world as an exhibition, people will watch them through the internet and maybe posters and original works. Then the peace will be bright and the world will be better. One of European projects, all the colors of Eurasia, the member of the assembly from France, Galin Drion. This is literature and music festival which gathered the tradition of people of Eurasia. It was held several times in France, and of course in recent years these personal meetings of participants of the festival of course are difficult, and some programs are held online in the frames of the festival, and we used to have opening of the exhibition of the photographer who is making photos of people of different folks and tribes, and it's unique photos which actually give us all the palette, all the diversity of culture of different people in the world, and of course different marriage traditions. One more project which is called the Marriages of People Cultural Heritage. The author is the photographer, the member of Russian Geographic Society, Denis Knyaziev, and let alone the exhibition, let alone the photos, he's preparing for each people, for each traditional marriage, he is preparing a book. And this book is already published about Udmurtia Republic. It was with the support of UNESCO and Assembly of Eurasian People. We support this project, and we hope that in this part of the book there will be all the marriage traditions of all the people of Eurasia. I can just name a couple of humanitarian projects. This is Museum of the Sun. The initiator and the author of this museum are the members of the assembly from Novosibirsk. This museum unites traditional ideas of people of Eurasia and the whole world about the sun, about the role of the sun in the life and culture of every person. And this year the museum is opened in a new space, a new building. David Pat Fisher, that's his new project from India. It is called Our International Family. It's not a huge one, it's only several videos, but every participant can make a small video about the friendship of people. When you can without any words understand each other, there is a small movie about the life of people, about the traditions, and you can understand. And there are a lot of projects, and we can find the information about them on the page of the Eurasian Assembly. There is a Russian and English version of our activity. And now we turn the floor to Marina Leonidova Golikova, the head of the Department of Happiness. This is the department which appeared recently this year. Hello, dear friends, I'm glad to see all of you. And the happiness of every child, of every person, of every family is one of the main tasks and goals of Assembly of People of Eurasia. That's why recently we have established the Department of Happiness. And that's the best work in the world because together with my team, with Assembly of People of Eurasia, I study what makes people happy. And we make the questions of prosperity, of happiness, of quality of life all over the world. And maybe not one, but one of the tasks of our department is to make the educational programs in the field of ecology, psychology, health, rehabilitation of people, psychological rehabilitation, which is especially important in the period of pandemic, and social protection and social responsibility. And what is also very important to broad the experience of the happy projects which is on the territory of Eurasia, to support the public and state initiatives as our native in Russian, as also a foreign one partnership, and so all the organizations dedicated to the development of happiness and prosperity on the earth. And I would like just to say a couple of projects which have international recognition. This of the project, this is the fairy tale in every of us. The fairy tale is what can unify different countries and people, because every country has its own heroes and stories, and they are similar in one, that the fairy tale teaches us to be kind, to be kind-hearted, and to find the happy moments in every moment of life. The next project which I would like to highlight your attention, this happiness to fly, and this unifies everyone who is in love with the sky, and the main goal is to grant this feel of the flight which inspires everyone for the new goals, for the new development, for the new findings and project. The committee of the happy sailing invites to participate in the program why the sailors. This is the wind, this is the force, this is the power, and we wish that the sailing could inspire people for the good activities, for the kind activities. And I studied the topic of happiness, and I found that out of 100 people, people who make good things, kind things, 87 people are happy people. That's why the more we include in our public life more kind things, more we make people happy. And to finish my speech, I would like to talk about the activity, which is a fresh one the Department of Happiness launched. These are letters of happiness, and I think that a lot of you remember how we used to write the letters to our nearest and dearest. And there is a lot of computerization, and maybe we have forgotten about these letters, but we offer to remember this tradition, this good tradition, and to write the letters, and more detailed about all our projects, how to participate, how to become the members, how to get involved, how to make the happiness grow all over the world. You can find information on our website. Thank you very much, dear friends, and now we turn the floor to Olga Cherkova. She will tell you about the children project of the Assembly, about one of a huge project. One of the main projects is the Children of Eurasia, and that consists of several initiatives, and the author and organizer of most of them is Olga. So Olga, the floor is yours. Thank you, Irina. Good day, dear friends. I want to introduce the most touching and one of the most favorite project of the Assembly, which is called the Children of Eurasia. It appeared 3 years ago, and one of the goals of this project is to established the informational cultural exchange facility for children. But this project is beloved by adults, and that unifies grandfathers, grandmothers, fathers, and mothers from all the countries. And in the frame of our project, we have one small sub project which is called Dear Granny Teach Me, because granny, grandmother, for many children, different countries, is the person who tells the fairy tales, who teaches some wisdom of life. That's why in this project we get the recipes not only from the grandmothers, for grandfathers, some cooking recipes about how to make the life better. So if you're interested in, you can send your recipes, and with a great pleasure we will publish them on our resources. Any child can inspire adults for good things and to make people happy. So with this project, with this initiative, children initiative, it's about the child from Udmurtia who was dreaming to become the journalist, and we supported in assembly who implemented the adult this project. It became the audio workbook for the blind children. We have published this textbook, this workbook, and this initiative was supported by the President Grant, and many blind children can get the education with this textbook. One more Eurasian project, children family project, which we all love. This is the festival Sunflower. This is held already 13 times. It was held several years already, but before this year it was called the Festival of Mass Media for Children, and since this year this is family co-creation in mass media, and the topic of this year is the fairy tales of Eurasia. And my colleague has already told that the fairy tales is establishment of the fairy tale. This is priority form of cooperation Department of Happiness, where I work as well. And on the festival of the Sunflower, with a great pleasure, we are going to talk of different folks who live in Eurasia. And on this festival, the main task is who will participate in this festival is the establishment of the fairy tales about the happiness in different countries, which we gather in one book, and this book will be published. And if you have the fairy tales, or if you would join our project, we will wait for you, and we can establish this big quality book which we can write all together. And also we will tell you about the project which is called Tell Me About Your Motherland. That is also created by the child who is blind, but he had a dream to become the museum guide, and he is living in Volga region in Urals. And they talk with interest about his motherland, and that's why I think that according to the initiative of this boy, you can join, because recently this boy and his project Tell Me About Your Motherland, he also made a speech on the forum which unified the head and museum workers and the managers of tourist centers from different countries. And also I would also that we together support the initiative of Bogdan Zaitsev. This is the boy who is during pandemic, when on one of the facilities we met with Dmitry Britman, the journalist from Israel, and he gathers the question of children all over the world, and in his program for the children question, very famous people answer from different countries. So on this facility, our Bogdan asked one question: tell me in one word, what is for you the children time? What is the, and please answer for all of us, and for Bogdan also, in one word, what is for you is childhood? what children time, the childhood, what is for you, because you used to have dreams. These dreams were kind and bright. Tell us in one word, what is the childhood for you? This is very serious and global question, and I ask all of you to join our project, and then the world will become more kind if we hug each other. Thank you very much for attention. Thank you, Olga, and this is very interesting remark, creative taste and sound. And I think that at the end of our meeting we will read the chat and we will understand what does it mean for everyone, the word of happiness. And now I turn the floor to Bessonova Marina, and she will tell us about the representative departments which at the present time are created in the frames of the Assembly of People of Eurasia. Hello dear colleagues, I'm glad to welcome all of you. And I'm happy because with most of you I got acquainted, and with some of you I cooperated as well. I'm the head of department, which has a task to develop the network of new structures. New, because on the first stage when we established the assembly, we also meant that, and in charter it is also depicted, that we will consider the option of representatives in different regions on territory of Eurasian continent. On the first stage, we have opened this representative offices and making the audit, the monitoring of these representatives. We understand that some time ago we went the right way, unifying the efforts of people and the mission of people who are not cold-hearted, who are interested in this mission. And my colleagues were talking about the project. There are a lot of them, and this is only 1% of the projects which we all together in cooperation we can implement. So the representative offices is one form which helps us, because being on territory of one region, of one country, we cannot stretch the hand of support, but nevertheless we have people, reliable people, who are in different countries, and we call them representatives of the head of the offices, where we have such cooperation of people. And I also started to think, while my colleagues making speeches, I thought about the projects which already were implemented. And Mr. Muhammadjanov, thank you very much, because in 2 projects in online, because of lockdown we were limited, but we managed to hold the marathon, 7-hour marathon, where we told each other important things, the words of support. And this 7-hour marathon, which we dedicated to the Day of Mother Native Language, only in the first day when we launched, and where from different countries our colleagues joined, 18,000 people joined to watch this marathon. I don't know if that's a big number or not, but it was clearly that these are the people who will stay with us always, because 7 hours, we thought with our colleagues, 7 hours of marathon to watch, this is the huge amount of time. And that's a big labor. This is mentality labor. But on the other side, we understand that only people who support us can join the project which we create together. I just can give you 2 examples. One of our representative offices is Russian region, Sverdlovsk region in Russia, and for years already we work with representative office, and they have a project, the initiators of this project, who became our partners, they offered us to make such an option. They work with the marble, white stone marble, which similar to the marble in Mediterranean region, and they invite the sculptures from all the world, which the festival is dedicated to the sculpturing, dedicated to our topics. And this marble is on the territory of small village. The village is called Mramorske, and many people know it on the territory of Eurasian space. And one more project which we implement, this is on the border of culture and entrepreneurship and industrial topics. We have the international tournament of mourners. This is representative office making this, and people who are united with the representatives of the Assembly of Eurasia, when people for whom it is important, who used to mourn in the childhood, or I don't know, many years ago, and they have a big delegations who visit the RT village, and they big delegations visit specialists who can mourn and who have their own technologies of mourning. It's a humanitarian project, and we supported it with a great pleasure. Several years already, we work with our partners, with these representatives. And what I started with, once again, Mr. Mohamedjanov, I would like to thank you. That was an outstanding project, and that was initiated by a representative office. The Christmas unites, and when there were teleconferences, telecommunication while there was a lockdown, because there are some holidays which we really celebrate and appreciate, and this is what unites us. This is what we are talking about. And we used to talk, we were playing the instruments, reading the verses, and there is something which is touching our heart. And dear colleagues, I would like to address you. If you have people who would like to cooperate with us, who would like to become our representatives or to be the head of our representative office, you would have as a partners, as a support. At the present time, the big organization around which we have a cooperation of many initiatives, many creative people are around, and I think that together with you we will be able to make everything. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Marina. And now we turn the floor to our young generation. And the Assembly of People of Eurasia has Young Generation Assembly of People of Eurasia. And Ivan Vorobyov, the floor is yours. Hello, dear colleagues. My name is Ivan Vorobyov, and I'm a representative of the Young Generation of People of Eurasia Assembly. The Young Generation Assembly is the part of non-governmental organizations of Assembly of People of Eurasia, and we make our activity in the frames of goals and targets of Assembly. Our main task is to unify young people aged from 18 up to 35 of big Eurasia countries based on shared and general goals, protection of interests, and achieving the public goals and development of the processes on the Eurasian continent. The Young Generation Assembly is making its activity since 2017. Within this time, we have implemented a lot of projects. We have created Coordination Council, which is the council body of the assembly, and it consists of the leaders, representatives of the organizations from big Eurasia. The key goals of Eurasian Assembly in the present year 2021 are, first of all, the creation of the network, of the networking with not less than 100 participants with a social status. This either the attaché, expert, or ambassador, with the goal of strengthening the horizontal connections between the people, establishing the work contents with national and global organizations, and creation of the project platform for the young generation. Implementation of the massive projects on territory of Eurasian continent. This is also organization of the project platform for young people, on which they can implement the joint significant projects, the goal and the value of which are also the same to the assembly. And let's talk more detailed about what is the Young Generation Network. And this is the facility for the professional growth, for enlarging of the public connections, and increase of the career opportunities and growth for the young generation. We would like to start for establishing a sustainable network of constant active working group from different communities. Our project can join people aged from 18 up to 40 years, and from every country of Eurasia would like to give opportunity to establish the connections and to invite for the sustainable growth. We have already told you about the different status groups. We have other projects which are implemented right now. There's an online project, My Way, Open Eurasia, Photo Contest, Electromanie, Garden of the World, and Assembly has participated in and became the organizer of the Garden of the World. This is the meeting dedicated to the meeting of Soviet and American soldiers on Elbe River. That was commemorated by our activity on the 6th of July. In the frame of our assembly, we will have the Teenager and Young Generation Day. We invite representatives of your organizations to participate in our activity, and we are open in online regime, and we are open for fruitful cooperation in the future. Thank you very much for attention. Thank you. So the next floor is, I have already told about the General Assembly, and now Larissa, just 2 minutes, will tell you about our General Assembly. Larissa, the floor is yours. Well, good day, dear friends. My heart is overwhelmed with the happiness to see our dear friends, that we all are together. That's a great happiness. That within many years we have strengthening of our friendship. And today my colleagues told you briefly about our activity, and I would like to remark that within this short period of time on the first stage of the assembly, in our assembly has joined more than 800 representatives of juridical physical entities from different countries, from 45 countries of the world. It's not only a Eurasian continent. Our colleagues, our friends, and this is the topic of the peace. And with this activity, we are in assembly, and there are a lot of members of our assembly, and the supreme body unifying the members of the assembly is the general meeting. It is once in 4 years, and that the first one was when we expected our organization. Then we had 2 general assemblies before, and as Svetlana Konstantinovna told, on the 9th of July there will be reporting re-selection general assembly, where we sum up the results within the first stage of our development, and recently creating the report only to one headline and the activities which we did. This is a list of more than 250 pages. This is a big layer of work which is supported by the membership in the assembly. That's why we invite you to our assembly, and on the website there is a section to join the assembly, and if you wish you can join our team. Those who are the members of the assembly, I would say that on the 9th of July we make the general assembly in online format because of the conditions of the COVID situation. And on the 1st of July we'll get the letter with the pack of the documents which would be considered in the General Assembly, and the link to the online voting and participation. That's why we invite all of you on the 9th of July for the General Assembly, for our election and report meeting. We wait all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Larissa. Well, dear friends, very detailed. We told you about our activity, as much as it is possible in the frame of our time. And now the floor is yours, Elizabeth. Please.
So thank you very much, Svetlana, and also to the team for this very impressive presentation. The huge amount of work that has been done by you and your team shows us what can be reached if a plan is followed with strong motivation and the fire of the heart. And of course, the contributions of your team that, as I know, frequently work day and night, and the proactive leaders of the platform cannot be appreciated highly enough. Based on this extraordinary engagement, we look forward, I think, to a bright and active future. Before we proceed with the second part, we wanted to give space to some questions, but we'll postpone it to the end of our meeting, if you agree. And now we'll give way to the next speakers. Marco will introduce.
Okay, so we proceed now with our next speaker, Mr. Frey from the organization Impulswelle in Switzerland. He is an electronics engineer. His field of work was in the area of telephony, power engineering, and home wiring. He was a lecturer at the University for Engineering and Architecture in central Switzerland. Nowadays, he's an actuary at the association Impulswelle. He is a gardener and a disciple of a Russian language. So, Mr. Frey, the floor is yours. And one more additional technical thing for our listeners in Russian. I guess you need to switch the audio channel in order to get the right translation. So maybe, Mr. Frey, we wait a couple more seconds and then the floor is yours.
Ja, hört ihr mich? Ich spreche Deutsch. Muss mal sehen.
Ja. Ich glaube, ja, genau. Ich glaube, Sie können weitermachen. Ja.
Gut. Also, wir haben ein Motto bei der Impulswelle. Das heißt weder links noch rechts, sondern der Wahrheit verpflichtet. Die Impulswelle informiert über politische und gesellschaftliche Themen. Wir sind als Verein organisiert und veranstalten Vorträge und Diskussionsrunden in der Schweiz. Dabei legen wir Wert auf Informationen aus erster Hand. Weitere Infos finden Sie unter impulswelle@gmx.ch. Ja, und dann, wir setzen uns ein für die Wahrheit, der Wahrheit verpflichtete Medien, ein striktes Trennbankengesetz, wissenschaftlichen und technischen Fortschritt, eine Wirtschaft für das Gemeinwohl, echte Menschenbildung, ein Ende der Konzernherrschaft, Kulturaustausch zwischen souveränen Staaten und Völkern. Unser Verein wurde 2013 gegründet, weil wir sahen, dass unsere schweizerische Regierung nicht mehr im Sinne des Volkes agierte. Ich muss Sie hier darauf aufmerksam machen, dass die Schweiz ein einzigartiges Regierungssystem hat, die direkte Demokratie. Das bedeutet, dass das Volk der Souverän ist in Gemeinden, Kantonen und beim Bundesstaat. Um diese Souveränität auszuüben, gibt es 4-mal im Jahr Abstimmungen und Wahlen, an welchen alle Landesbürger teilnehmen können. Hier ein paar Gründe, warum wir die Impulswelle gegründet haben. Der Bundesrat erklärte den Beitritt zur EU als sein strategisches Ziel, ohne diesen Antrag dem Volk vorzulegen und eine Abstimmung darüber durchzuführen. So etwas darf es in einer direkten Demokratie nicht geben, denn in der direkten Demokratie ist das Volk der Souverän. Dieses Abkommen wurde jetzt endlich auf Druck des Volkes begraben, nach 7 Jahren Verhandlungen mit der EU. Viele Abstimmungen wurden mit massiver Staatspropaganda zugunsten der Regierung entschieden. Abkommen mit der EU, Schengen, Dublin, Personenfreizügigkeit und viele mehr. Der Volkswille wird nicht umgesetzt. Wir haben abgestimmt gegen eine Masseneinwanderung und das wird nicht durch die Regierung nicht realisiert. Wir suchten also in unserem Verein eine Möglichkeit, unsere Ansichten den Leuten mitzuteilen, und das war die Ursache für die Vereinsgründung. Wir beschäftigen uns mit der weltpolitischen Situation. Wir fordern ein Trennbankensystem nach Glass-Steagall, und dabei werden die Geschäftsbanken von den Investmentbanken getrennt. Dadurch werden die Kundenkonten der Geschäftsbanken nicht betroffen, wenn eine Investmentbank zahlungsunfähig wird. Was uns während all den Jahren begleitet und inspiriert hat, war die Entstehung und Entwicklung der neuen Seidenstraße, deren Ausbau nur mit neu gegründeten Kreditbanken möglich war. Wir haben ihren Ausbau zur Bridge and Road Initiative mitverfolgt und dazu viele Seminare und Vorträge organisiert und Informationsschriften versendet. Als Grundlage dafür hatten wir das große Vorbild von Lyndon LaRouche, dem Vater dieser Initiative, und von Helga Zepp-LaRouche, der Gründerin des Schiller-Instituts in Deutschland, die ja hier auch anwesend ist. In dieser Initiative fanden wir die Grundsätze der wirtschaftlichen Zusammenarbeit von souveränen Staaten, das Schaffen von Win-Win-Kooperationen und Förderung regionaler Kultur und Eigenständigkeit. Wir sehen in der Globalisierung und dem Great Reset eine große Gefahr, auch für unser Land, die Schweiz. Es könnte Wirtschaftskriege und globale Kriegsgefahr entstehen. Noch immer droht ein Zusammenbruch des Geldsystems und eine grün-links dominierte Politik. Unser Ziel ist, ein neues Paradigma zu unterstützen und bekannt zu machen, welches das Gemeinwohl in den Mittelpunkt stellt und auf der Basis von Nationalstaaten für Freiheit und Frieden auf unserem Planet einsteht. Wir freuen uns, bei dem Forum Eurasien mitarbeiten zu dürfen und wünschen Ihnen eine große Verbreitung und viel Erfolg. Dankeschön.
Herzlichen Dank.
Спасибо большое. Спасибо. Dankeschön.
So thank you very much, Mr. Frey, for your very interesting contribution to our roundtable. And and our next speaker will be Mr. Peter Haider. He is president of a Universal Peace Federation in Austria since 2005. He initiated already in 1984 a platform for interreligious encounters in evening discussions and symposia in Vienna. Since 2009, he organized with UPF Austria several NGO conferences in the United Nations in Vienna, like several annual Interfaith Harmony Week conferences, or on the theme Europe and Russia, partners in a globalized world. And another example and topic is perspectives for sustainable peace and development in the Horn of Africa. Mr. Haider, please let us hear your introduction about your organization and your targets. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vukovic, for your kind words. Thank you for the impressive reports about the work of the Eurasian Assembly. The Universal Peace Federation, which I am the president in Austria, has maybe three slogans: interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. Our founder, he comes from Korea, and the universal, no, I went too far anyway. We are like an international NGO, which is represented in maybe 150 or so countries. And also we have the status, general consultative status at the Economic Council of the United Nations. One of the defining moments was what our founder said in the year 2000. 2000 was a year of great hope, and he made a statement in relationship to the importance of religion for peace in the UN, and he suggested to establish an interreligious council as a counterpart to the Security Council, where religious leaders and representatives of culture and education are like a permanent advisory body, so that in a time of crisis, there is not just the prevalence of the national interest, but also the voice of the people represented to the people of religion, culture, and education is strongly present when maybe fatal decisions are made. The organization has several sub-organizations dealing with head of state, parliamentarians, religious leaders, media, academics, women, economic development, and arts and culture. One of the maybe prominent organizations is the Interreligious Association for Peace and Development, which was founded in 2007. Here you see our founder's wife, who leads now this organization. Our founder passed away in 2012. And she made a strong statement about the importance of peace on the Korean Peninsula, as our organization comes from there in front of a full soccer stadium in Seoul, and together with the religious leaders of the world, that what we really need is dialogue and some kind of cooperation and the reduction of tensions, which might at the end lead to war. One of the first big initiatives which started in the early 2000s was the Middle East Peace Initiative. Many of our members from around the world and our friends went to Israel, Palestine territories, Jordan, for fact-finding trips, people-to-people diplomacy, interfaith pilgrimages, and conferences in the spirit of dialogue. We didn't come to teach everyone what he does wrong. We tried to facilitate meeting, dialogue, and exchange among people. Also, here in Vienna, I must say, I'm happy that we could have always some spirit of friendship with Russia. In Austria, generally, our last experience with Russia was a good one. Even we fought a war against each other, and but at the end, we, like the Russian, as all other major occupying forces, left us peacefully. So our last memory is a good memory, and we are generally, we have a very friendly for the Russian people. When I went the first time to Russia, I really felt how we are missing this part of the European culture. and we are not aware that we are missing it because of the long separation during the Cold War. I mean, I could speak many things. Of course, in Vienna, we have the United Nations, and as an organization which has consultative status, we regularly organize events, even on the level of culture. Here you see, as example, an event with Brazilian representatives who came to Vienna. We normally celebrate every year the International Day of Peace. One time we had Rigoberta Menchú, Nobel Prize laureate, as a special guest. We had conferences in 2015 about on the resolution of tensions on the Korean Peninsula. We started our organization, Parliamentarians for Peace, in the UN at the time of this international refugee crisis, and it has a big resonance because all the parties, political parties, have to deal with this matter. And it's not easy for nobody. We had a special guest from Mexico, a Catholic bishop, who explained the situation there. And so in many ways, we try to promote the dialogue. Here you always see the pictures of the big events, but we did some 400 smaller events also with maybe just 20 or 50 people, because the dialogue among people of the society is so important. Of course, we had big peace, like this Peace Starts With Me festival in the Vienna Stadthalle. And one important project which I want to mention is every year since 2010, there's the official Interfaith Harmony Week declared by the UN, and every year we organize a conference with international participation in the United Nations building in Vienna. We did conferences on the Horn of Africa, which had very hopeful developments 2-3 years ago, and now again they are in a more difficult situation. Our international organization does every year a big summit. The biggest one was the summit before the lockdown in 2020 in February. Here you see some world leaders who came there from Africa, from Asia, from Europe, from America, also from Russia. Here you see a special award which is given every 2 years to eminent leaders of politics and religion. Another picture. The focus at the moment, because our organization comes from Korea, is to work for the peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula, which was divided not really by its own fault, but by the bad luck that they got involved in the Cold War after they were occupied before already by the Japanese. So the world has to also involve itself to reunify Korea again. I must say, we had interesting conference also with very eminent Russian participation, because Russia is a neighboring country to Korea, as it has a small border with North Korea. Our founder met Kim Il-sung in 1991, and they started a process which helped in many ways to open doors also between North and South Korea. There were fact-finding programs, and as a final project, I want to introduce Peace Road, which is a goodwill project. It dates back to 1981, when our founder proposed an international highway that should connect all the people of the world. And he suggested there to build an undersea tunnel between Korea and Japan, and between US and Russia or Alaska and Siberia under the Bering Strait. And yesterday we had a presentation of a film which was made by Americans going to Russia, speaking with their partners there about this project, which they come to the to a project like the space shuttle, the space, how do you call it, the space lab, which is circulating around the world. So it has, of course, big costs, but it would create first a peaceful connection between America and Russia, and it would have incredible potential also for economic and even many ecological merits. So in this way, here are some examples what we do in Austria, in our southern border, like a memorial peace road biking tour along the trace of the Hungarian Jews, the death march of the Hungarian Jews. So in many ways, restoring consciousness in order that all these unfortunate things don't happen again. And the big thing which our organization did during the lockdown and the Corona time were big international rallies of hope, which brought together millions of people and very prominent speakers from the world of religion, politics, and other professional fields. Here you can see one of the last rallies of hope, which was dedicated especially to the peaceful unification of Korea, with speakers from leading political representatives from the whole world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Haider from UPF. Thank you for a very, very impressive presentation. Before we proceed with our next speaker, I would like to ask if somebody has technical problems in switching to an audio channel to English. I heard Mr. Graf, I heard you have problems. And we will now enjoy the presentation of Mr. Graf, the founder of the association Anthropos for the Children in this World, an organization that supports children and families at need in Germany, Kaliningrad, and Ukraine, and started a steadily growing education program in Ukraine and Russia. Mr. Graf, we are most interested in your experiences and reports. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. To all of you, a happy day, and I hope it's sunny all over. I'm very grateful for having a chance to present what we're doing here. Anthropos for the Children of the World, it has nothing to do with Mr. Steiner and his Anthropos Association. The reason why I chose this name, Anthropos, ancient Greek, meaning human being, is that I wanted to get off all kind of connections to either English or to any other language, and therefore we chose the word Anthropos. As in the name it already tells, we're mostly involved in the work of and with children. We founded it in 1870, and when I first came to know the situation of the social orphans in Kaliningrad, the former Königsberg, I instinctively adopted one of the children homes there, and the Anthropos Association took over. And that was in 1992. Then in 1995, we founded a Russian Anthropos unit. And the president is, in my eyes, the most skilled and educated psychologist that Russia has in Kaliningrad. Her name is Svetlana Dovchenko. Her daughter is studying medicine right now in Germany, doing very well, living with our family. And we have been introducing and initiating local projects all over the Oblast, Kaliningrad, whatever it needed, because some need more help in schools and in public places for children. Others are more involved in social orphanages, etc. So it's a very diverse situation for the children in the Oblast of Kaliningrad, and therefore I'm very happy that the third president of Anthropos, the second one is sitting right next to me, her name is Nicola, is in Berlin, and he has been traveling from Berlin to Kaliningrad throughout the last 28 years, twice a month. So to say, he drove almost 3 times around the globe in order to do his work there. We also founded a center for nature protection in order to bring children in Kaliningrad closer to nature and what it needs to preserve in the, I think it's the largest high moor in Europe. And he's married to a Russian, and therefore he has a very strong connection, so do I. I had been teaching at different universities in Kaliningrad for about 20 years. And 5 years ago, my Russian, so to say, daughter, my Russian, so to say, daughter, met a girl from Ukraine, and they fell in love with each other and are very, very good friends. And our Ukrainian daughter then said, well, if you're already acquainted with some of the problems Eastern Europe has, why don't you work in Ukraine too, in my home country? And so we did. So ever since 5 years, we have been working in Ukraine as well. And there is a third Anthropos association that we founded 3 years ago. The mother of this girl, called Nastya, is the president in Kiev. And I've been lecturing at the universities, different universities in Kiev, in Ivano-Frankivsk, in Lemberg and Odessa. And I hope we will be able to go there as soon as possible. The reason why we don't have any presentation for you to look at is simply that we ran out of time and couldn't technically achieve what we wanted to present. But I hope that my description of what we're doing is colorful enough for you to understand and get an idea of what we're doing. In both countries, Russia and Ukraine, and in a couple other countries where I also give lectures, like, for example, the United States, where I have very good connections because I lived in the United States as a foreign exchange student for more than a year, and I was married to an American. Therefore, still all the connections are very vivid and alive. We are trying to get people together transnationally, translingually, transpsychologically, and well beyond any kind of religion or ideology. And that is what we understand of being a peaceful future for all of us, to get rid of all kinds of racism and ideologies that are just simply poisoning the heads and the souls of the people. And therefore, we also initiated parents' schools in Kaliningrad, as well as in different parts of Ukraine. And we're really working on that in order to educate parents to become parents, not only by birth, but also psychologically, emotionally, and mentally. We therefore also founded the ITP, that means individual transsystemic psychology. That means the following: most psychologists teach after one school they are trained in, and they keep trying to solve any problem by working with that school. And that's, in my eyes, wrong, because not every problem needs a hammer. But if you have only a hammer as a tool, then you, of course, declare every problem that you find in any person being a nail. other than that, we developed a couple of different thinking models. It's more than 3 dozens. And with those, we work as a tool, as a summary of tools. So we can have different tools for the different psychological problems that we find, not only under the situation of the pandemic of today, but also in different parts of the country, in different ages, different people that are living under different situations, etc. So it's a wild and wide field that we're working in, especially on the psychological basis. IDP now exists in Russia as well as in Ukraine. And our students love the idea of having many tools in order to fulfill their work as parents, as teachers, as pedagogues, not only being teachers, but pedagogues, which is a big difference. And that is what our lectures in the different parts, in the different universities are mostly about. That's a short introduction. I hope I didn't overrun anybody, and if there are any questions, I would be glad to answer them. Oh yeah, one thing, thank you. One thing that I want to pronounce is we founded also a peace declaration, especially in 5 languages as a basis, and that is Russian, German, English, help me, French and Spanish. But we translated that already into 32 different languages, and we would be very glad if anybody could help us find more translations in more countries or more languages, because we want to make that an international event for as many languages as possible, to reach as many people in the world as possible, because we have to overcome all kind of systematic politics and systematic ideologies and systematic imprisonment of people in order to really make them free in their thinking, in their feeling, and in their way of behaving towards each other. And that is how I came together with Willi Augustad. I think that was in the middle of the 80s, and we've been friends ever since, and true to each other and true to the idea of international friendship. We really mean it and we do it. My family consists today of more than 25 different nations, and I'm rich in brothers, sisters, daughters, sons, and even just humans.
Thank you very much, Mr. Graf, for your very insightful speech, I must say.
It sounds like a very interesting project for the Eurasian Peoples Assembly. I mean, the translation of the peace declaration.
That would be a very good idea. And I also forgot, we already have partners now studying in Germany and being connected in Kazakhstan, in Belarusia, in Uzbekistan, etc., because we want to really involve as many people from as many countries as possible in the general idea of Anthropos e.V. for the children of the world.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. It is, from what I heard so far from you and from the speakers before, it is, what can I say? So many people already doing such good work in building bridges between East and West, and it only can get better. So we go on with our program. Our next speaker is Mrs. Helga Zettler-Rusch, and we are already very curious about the introduction of her. She's the founder of a Schiller Institute in Wiesbaden, Germany, in 1984. This institute is active in many countries to develop alternatives to the actual world economic and monetary system, and also paving the path for peace. With publications in more than 15 languages, it has long since reached out also for Eurasia. Mrs. Zettler-Rusch we would like to hear your presentation. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to this very interesting forum. I want to tell you a few words about the Schiller Institute, which was founded by me in 1984, as was mentioned, as an institute for statecraft. Statecraft meaning, that the question of politics has to be elevated on a completely different level than what you understand as politics these days. And the two main foci of our efforts were that we wanted to fight for a just new world economic order. What that means, I come to in a second, and that this only would function if it would be combined with a renaissance of classical culture and a dialogue connecting the high phases of all nations and all cultural contributions and have a dialogue. Now, the reason why it was called Schiller Institute is because the image of man of the German poet Friedrich Schiller, in my view, is the most noble and most lofty idea, that man can be a beautiful soul and can be a genius, and that should influence and inspire politics. So in 91, as one example, when the Soviet Union disintegrated, we proposed the Eurasian land bridge. That was the idea to connect the population and industrial centers of Europe with those of Asia through so-called development corridors. That would have functioned very well, and it was meant by us as a peace order for the 21st century. Now, we studied also and worked out on many other development projects for Africa. We worked with Lopez Portillo on a Latin American economic integration program. We worked with Indira Gandhi on a 40-year development plan for India. And when Xi Jinping in 2013 introduced the new Silk Road in Kazakhstan, we were extremely happy because we said, now finally China is putting their economic weight behind all the economic development plans we had worked on for so long. And we immediately updated our programs and published them in a study of almost 400 pages, which was called The New Silk Road Becomes the World Land Bridge, because our conception is actually a development perspective for every continent on this planet. So then after the assassination of General Soleimani of Iran on the 3rd of January 2020, I thought that there was an immediate danger of a confrontation into a superpower confrontation, with Iran, Russia on the one side, the United States on the other side. So I called for the convening of summits between the United States, Russia, and China. And we have conducted with the Schiller Institute since then about, I would say, a good dozen of international conferences where we try to put together top speakers from Russia, China, India, Africa, Europe, Latin America, with the idea that we need to have an agenda for such summits. In the meantime, President Putin has called for a summit of the permanent 5 members of the UN Security Council. And this goes very much in the same direction, except that we think that India should also be a part of this. So now, since the outbreak of the COVID pandemic, one of our main foci has been to mobilize internationally for the creation of a World Health System, because this COVID would not be a pandemic if every country on the planet would have a modern health system. Like the Chinese have demonstrated in Wuhan, that if you have modern technology, you can build a hospital in 1 week with 1,000 beds. They were able to do contact tracing, quarantine, and in 2 months the pandemic was under control. Now, the recent mutations of the COVID-19, especially now the Delta variant, demonstrate that this pandemic is not going to be defeated as long as any country in the world, in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia, is too poor to have a modern health system, have no vaccination. So this will remain an absolute urgent question, that we need to have a modern health system in every single country. And since to have that, you need water. 2 billion people have no clean water. Several billion have no access to electricity. So by putting the World Health System as an engine of demands in front of everything, we hope that this will catalyze also the recognition that there must be a serious poverty alleviation program and a serious industrialization and development of Africa, Latin America, because it's a moral stain to the whole human race that billions of people should be on the verge of starvation and have not the possibility to have a fulfilled life, which does require not to have hunger. We are also fighting against the sanctions under conditions of the COVID mean genocide. We are fighting for the abandonment of the Caesar sanction, which is imposed against Syria, because as the Catholic Cardinal Zenari a couple of months ago made an urgent appeal that more than 90% of the population in Syria is below the absolute poverty line, has no medicine, not enough food. So I would hope that we could find some resonance in the fight against these sanctions, because sanctions are a form of war against civilian people, who have committed no crime, and it should be outlawed because it's a crime against humanity. Now, lastly, I would say that one big focus of our work always has been the cultural work. We have created several classical choruses. We have a chorus in New York, for example, of almost 250 people. We have performed all the great classical works of Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, not all of them, but a good number of them. And we always have, dialogue of culture where we bring beautiful Chinese ancient instruments. We have Indian culture, we had Russian culture, because we think that chauvinism and the hostility against foreigners, that will immediately vanish once people recognize the beauty of other cultures. So that's why our conferences always contain this element of the dialogue of cultures. So I think that is probably enough for a first short overview.
Thank you very much for your short but very interesting speech. From what I learned so far is that to aim for a better world and to fight for peace and stability and for the harmonization of civilizations and societies, there are many facets and aspects, many levels we have to face. And you gave a very good example that there are still a lot of aspects we have to deal with. And so I guess so far we heard very different approaches and different fields of work you all do or you all work in. And it's very interesting and very important is that in the core, in the center, we all try to reach and to achieve culture and bring culture back into our life again, to make our civilizations more bright. So at this point, I give the speech to Liz, and she's introducing our last speaker.
Yes, our next and last speaker is Nico Orivsky. I hope I pronounced it correctly. A pretty young and dynamic man from Hamburg, Germany. And he's investing all his time and money to improve the relations between East and West, especially by dissolving the common cliches. We first met him on Crimea a couple of years ago during an event by the Peacemaker organization in Yalta. and found some common interests which could be used for future activities. Nico, we are delighted about your participation and contribution, please. This will be now in Russian, and we get an English translation, right? So we have to look that everybody now gets the English translation. So maybe the English translator can say something.
Good day, dear friends, dear ladies and gentlemen, and I express my gratitude for invitation. I'm really happy to participate in this conference, and special thanks to Mr. Augustet for his support in the peace process between Europe and Asia. Our organization was established in 2018. Officially, it was established in 2018. It is named Eurasian Society, and this organization works on direction of people diplomacy. Because I was born in Middle Asia, in Kyrgyzstan, and aged 14 I moved to Germany. I have German roots. I understood that we are one people. With Germans we have a lot of common, and we have a lot of cultural, joint cultural similar things, and there were no contradiction. But why it happened so in the world, in the West, that people say that Russia is bad and everything is awful, balalaika, bears, and all this stereotypes, and people of Germany, they are evil, they don't like Russians. But in fact, Russians are beloved by Germans, and vice versa. Russians love Germans. When I arrived to Russia with my friends, with my colleagues, they told me, well, these are Germans, that's so great, so cool, and there is spiritual connection. And I understood that we must establish an organization which will work for unification, for unity of Russia and Germany, and on the whole Eurasian continent, because we really live at one continent. We must cooperate, not have a rivalry. Germany has big resources, technological resources, engineering. Russia has big natural resources, and yes, a lot of natural resources. And if all this will be unified in one, we can establish huge economic union, which will make influence on the activities and on the policy in the world. And then we will have peace for the whole world. And then we can avoid the rivalry and contradiction. In this direction, we are working in the key direction. One more direction which we work is the young generation. Young generation, this is our future, and we shouldn't forget that. In this direction, I think we must put more efforts, and in the year 2018-2019, together with our colleagues from Germany, we made days of German children diplomacy in Crimea, and we invited children from Augsburg, from Hamburg, from Berlin, and together with children from Russia they made master classes. And when they had to fly back, they were crying, they were hugging, and there is this connection, spiritual connection. In the sphere of business, in the sphere of international non-commercial organizations, I also think that we must have partnership at a very high level. This is direction which we work in now. At the present time, I am in St. Petersburg, a great city, the brother city of my city, and we have project that will be media project which we would like to start to implement. And I will tell that briefly, because fully I cannot tell you. That will not be interesting to watch. But the idea of our project is to show Russia from another angle, from another side, to show Russia how it is today, the young generation of Russia, what they are doing, how they live, and what they want, how they want to develop in the future. Many thanks for the opportunity to make a speech, and I will be glad for future cooperation.
This is the end, yes, Nico.
Haben Sie auch die Übersetzung auch hingekriegt?
Yeah, this is the end, also time-wise, but we would like to take another 5 to 10 minutes just to close the event calmly, and maybe to give room for a few questions, also for a little summary from the side of Svetlana and of our side. So if you all agree, we would not finish at 4, but 5 to 10 minutes later. Would this be okay? Okay, then we try to do this. Nico, thank you very much. A lot of bridges have been described today, very interesting presentations. And I would like to give the room now if there are any questions to ask also to our to the EPA people, or is there anything you would like to go into a little bit more deeply?
Alice, thank you very much. And I think that there could be colleague here to say a couple of words, because he is not occasionally today with us. And after that, Peter wanted to say something. Thank you very much. Dear friends, I'm really to see you. We met many times. I am glad to see dear Vili, dear Gundi. I'm happy to see you safe and sound and listening to all speeches. I think that we all go in the same direction, the same flow, but there are a lot of us, and as if we look like fingers on the hand, but we all do it in the same goal for the peace on the world. We have the Assembly of People of Eurasia. That's a great opportunity for helping us all together stay. And I think that, dear Willie, I have seen what we used to do since 1992. We made a huge work, and all our works, all our activities, they were in continuation, great continuation in the work of the Assembly. Dear Svetlana, I think that you are making a huge work because you continued, because at some level we made this the forum of the spiritual culture with Willie. I was the co-president and he as well. That was in 2010. It seemed that something was to stop, but now listening to your reports, to your project, I think that we are on a big start, and I'm pretty much sure that the best is ahead. The best is yet to come, because the outstanding projects, great people, this all is, and we want just to live in the world of peace. And I have studied the work which we did, dear Vili, dear Moody. So you in reality, following your activity of your colleagues, you made an outstanding work, and now we should all unite for the sake of our peace, for the sake of our life, and to be together. And you, Svetlana, you must go forward. Great. We have already our flag in the hands. Thank you very much, Toligian. Thank you very much. Peter wanted to ask a question or to say something, Mr. Heider.
Thank you very much. My question is, what do you expect from so-called West European, or for you probably you call us European representatives? How can we contribute to the Eurasian Assembly? Because, of course, I think Europeans are not aware what they miss, not being related to Russia or to the Ukraine, or all these cultural spheres of even these Orthodox countries, even the religion and other aspects, the great culture which was created. And still we live in this impression of the Cold War too much, because it was not really overcome. maybe one good point would be tourism. So anyway, we can answer this.
Thank you very much, Peter, for this question. Of course, that's a great pity to hear that you have a feeling that we live in the conditions of Cold War, because we don't have such a feeling in Russia, though we understand that we are in isolation, or we are isolated. There is attempt to make isolation of the international community, but we don't consider us to be in condition of Cold War, and we are interested definitely in cooperation. How? Now we listen to each of you who made a speech. Mr. Frey, Werner, and Hans Wolfgraf, and Helga, and she made an outstanding speech about the work of Institute of Schiller. That all is interesting, and generally we could, together with your organizations which you represent, which you stand for, to make the joint topic activities dedicated to the intercultural dialogue, young generation cooperation, questions of development of educational programs, question of inclusion, Department of Happiness. We have developed that. That's so many projects connected to happiness. What is happiness? The projects connected to happiness. That's why today we make this online formats around table, but maybe we make several of them, several formats on a regular basis. And today with you we are in this circle. Thanks to you, Honorable Helga, will gather your active people, Institute of Schiller, and then we will make the joint round table on the question of intercultural cooperation. So this may be different format meetings, and of course it's in online format, and as soon as the situation will be improved, we discussed together with Lise, with our colleagues, that we are ready to organize in Germany, in Austria, in Switzerland the days of the Assembly of Eurasia, as we held the days of the Assembly of Eurasia in France, in India, in Emirates, in Serbia and Bulgaria, in Mongolia, in Azerbaijan. The days of the Assembly is the form of the presentation of the Assembly on different directions, on cultural, on educational direction, young generation, sport activities. So we could, when the situation will let us, to arrive and together with you in every country to hold these days of the Assembly. So in order to show, because the main question which we and you and we should understand that yes, the headquarters are in Moscow in Russia, but we are international organization and we stand for the community of different countries. And as you have listened to, today we have the members of the Assembly are 45 countries, and if we make the days of the Assembly in Germany, so it means that you will have the visitors not only from Russia, but international delegation from different countries. And this is important to understand. We will show that we are together and all our community from different countries. So please, Helga, you wanted to say something.
Actually, I wanted to tell you and everybody that we will have a very important international conference next weekend on the 26th and 27th. The subject will be, what does the world look like after, the summit between Biden and President Putin, and, the whole anti-China, anti-Russia campaign and how to overcome it. Then we will have a big panel on science with scientists from Africa, Europe, the United States. We will have a panel on hyperinflation, the danger of a new financial collapse, and the hyperinflation, which is now showing up as the result of the money pumping for the last several years. And then we will have a panel on the World Health System and an effort which I call the coincidence of opposites, which is a method of thinking how to overcome geopolitical confrontation by thinking the higher one, which has a higher power than the many. This is a very deep philosophical conception, which was developed by Nikolaus Kosansky, as he is known in Russia. His German name is Nikolaus of Kuz. In any case, I would like to invite you to participate in this conference. And if you are interested, you should get in contact with me, and we can even think about forms of your active participation in this conference.
Helga, excuse me. Could you place in the chat how to get connected with you?
I don't have right now the access to the chat.
Just one, if you agree, if Mrs. Seppler-Rouge, if you also agree, I would like to put together the contributions, like Peter Haider, the PowerPoint presentation, if you want to hand a short presentation, the others, and the addresses together. Also the summary of the Russian presentation, because some people did not get everything due to the translation missing. So we put it together and then we send it to you, but you have to agree that we forward your contact address to the other participants here. Is this okay for the 5 speakers from our side now?
Yes.
Sure.
And then we put it together and send it to Svetlana and her team. And also then we can talk and see what kind of detailed ideas, maybe after a few days, things are coming more precisely into your mind, what kind of concrete ideas you might have, questions or ideas, and what kind of synergy effects could be possible.
Very good.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Well, I have a question, or I would ask dear Elise, if it is possible, can you send our contacts? And generally, all our contacts are on our website. Eurasia. Yeah, we'll write that to you in the chat. And we have a website of the Assembly of People of Eurasia. And on this website, in the section of contacts, we have all the contacts and telephone numbers, my telephone number as well. And there is also email address. My personal is one, and working email, I mean. And you can write to this email address. We are ready to participate in this conference, though of course we are not participating in political issues, but nevertheless I think that it's important to show our position of the Assembly of People of Eurasia. So in the chat, Artyom wrote our website, and this is a link to our website, and on this website there is all information in the section of contacts. Peter, did you receive the answer to your question?
Yes, this is a good idea, and we will also try, I will ask Lena, maybe to make a little summary of all the presentations of your people today, Svetlana. If you agree, we will send it also to you and spread it again to our participants from Germany, Austria, and Switzerland regarding the meeting today. Yeah, Svetlana, do you want to do some final words, or should I start and you do the rest? So maybe I start if you...
I wanted to thank the colleagues. Of course, we wanted to listen to our dear Willie. Dear Willie, maybe you say just hello, or a couple of words, or I love you, because we love you so much, and maybe just a couple of words from your side.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. I'm very proud. I'm very happy. Thank you again. So that's really have my blessings. I'm happy that there is progress, that the ideas which are born by others long before even we became active, I think since the world has started to be. So from this side of point, I'm very pleased that I could enjoy the last hours and of course the decades before in such a brotherhood, in such a family, in such a environment. So thank you and the best to you. Be happy.
See
Be
you soon
happy.
again.
And I hope to hear you.
Dear Willy, thank you very much. And I remember your words, love, friendship. This is very important, and we give our love from our heart to your heart. And of course, dear colleagues, many thanks for our today meeting. And I would say that our new friends, our new colleagues, if you want, because for us it's a great honor if you become the members of our assembly, if you become the part of our big Eurasian family, and we together will go along our life, helping each other, supporting each other, and granting or making this world better. Thank you very much.
Yes, I also want to thank all of the participants. I think that great targets usually start with the first step. And today we have contributed to gradually bridge the gap between cultures in the East and the West. I think there are many overlapping ideas and impulses. And for sure, the EPA offers us all the possibility to be part of the solution and to be part of Eurasia. And as my father always says, the Americans have one advantage because they feel part of America, even if they are only North Americans. We in Europe mostly feel as Europeans, but we could also define ourselves as part of the continent we live on, as West Eurasians. Yeah, love and peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. I wish you all the best and goodbye.
Bye.